Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel and I'm so excited to show you our online payments feature. As you know, rent collection can be such a headache when you're trying to track down who's paid you on Cash App, who sent you a check, did this person pay on time. So TenantCloud has made that entire process so much easier for you by bringing the online payments into one place side by side with our accounting and reporting. So it's very easy to just track everything in one place if you use TenantCloud for online payments. Now, online payments is really good for rent collection, but it's also available for sending owner distributions to your owners, as well as paying your expenses to service professionals. So if you have a handyman or maybe a maintenance coordinator that's helping you out on some of your properties, TenantCloud does allow you to send them their payments through the system. So you collect the income, you record it, and then you also record your expenses. So it's really great for that as well. So let's jump into it. We're going to go to the top right corner of our page and click on that profile icon and then select settings. And then we're going to go to online payments and click setup. So just a heads up, with our online payments feature, we do accept ACH payments as well as credit and debit cards. There are processing fees for both. So just depending on the subscription plan that you have, you may have a lower ACH fee for your tenants. Debit and credit card processing fees are the same for any subscription plan that you may be on. It's 3.5% plus 30 cents. And debit and credit card payments are on the same, like in the same category. So it'll be the same percentage-based fee for both of those. So if they're entering their 16-digit card, it's going to be a percentage-based fee. If they're entering their bank account details, that's going to be considered an ACH payment, and that'll be a flat fee, typically starting at about, I think on average it'd be about $150, depending on the subscription plan that you're on. So it could be $195, $150. You might even get it lower if you're on the business plan. You can get a customized ACH fee. So we're going to go ahead and click setup here. And the first thing that it's going to ask us is, how do we want to identify ourselves? Are we an individual or are we a business? This is Stripe's method. And by the way, we do use Stripe for the online payments in TenantCloud. So Stripe is a very powerful payment processing platform. They're also very well known. So they have the entire process down on the back end for us. And they do need to know who is collecting payments. So the rule of thumb here is if you have an EIN and you've registered yourself with the IRS, you can click business. If you don't have an EIN, maybe you do have a business, maybe like you're a self-proprietor, but you're using your social to report your taxes, then you'll go ahead and click individual. Now, one thing to note, this can always be changed later. So if you decide I'm going to start as a, maybe DIY landlord or maybe just processing payments on my own, you can always come back and update your entity information if you decide to register yourself with the IRS in the future down the line. So that is possible. Also, another good thing to note is that you could sign up as an individual and have a DBA. So I know several property managers may be concerned to have their personal information visible to the tenants, but just rest assured that this entire process here with the EIN, social, all of this information is going straight to Stripe. The only field that is visible to the tenants is what's on your profile in your settings under account settings, and as well as your DBA. This is what's going to show on the statement descriptor. So we can go ahead and fill this out. And then just follow the formatting for these fields. Make sure you include your country code on your phone number. And this is going to be your business address. If you have a business and you're using a PO box, you can go ahead and just enter a physical address for one of your properties for that field. And we'll go back and show you what a business one looks like. So as you can see here at the top of the page, there's only 2 steps. You just put this is for individual, of course. You put your details for yourself as your individual, and then you can move forward to adding your bank account. So we've got the DBA, the first and last name, date of birth, phone number, social, and address. So these are all the things that are required for an individual entity. If you have a nickname, like maybe I go by Kate, but that's not what's on my driver's license, there could be a mismatch because Stripe is using the IRS's database to verify this information because they are responsible for knowing who their customers are. There are know your customer laws that they have to follow, but also for tax reporting purposes, they do need to be able to have that information accurate in the system. So if you go by Kate Johnson, but that's not what matches this social through the IRS, they might flag that and you'll have to come in and correct it. So make sure that you use your actual legal name. My rule of thumb is if you have a driver's license, go to your driver's license and put the full name that you see on there. First name and last name are the only ones that are required. You don't need to put a middle initial or middle name. If you have a hyphenated last name or you have 2 names, you can definitely enter that there like that with a hyphen or with the space. So now we'll go back and we'll see what the owner and business process looks like. So now we're going to select business. So again, this is for those who have EINs, multi-member LLC, single member LLC. If you have an EIN, you go ahead and click business. And here you'll enter the EIN. Now, one thing I wanted to note here is that you might have, your EIN number memorized, but I would strongly recommend if you have an SS4 letter, you should have an SS4 letter, but if you have it handy, pull it out and just take a look, just double and triple check, because it's not worth the headache that you get later down the road if there is a mismatch here. Just to be sure, it will make the entire process go a lot more smoothly if you just go back and verify what you do have with the IRS. Now, I did want to note that with the EIN verification here, this is all happening with an automated system. So it's all being verified in real time. If there is something that can't be verified automatically, you will see a pending status on your entity, and we'll go over that here at the end once we get to it. But what I'm saying, all that to say is, if you enter everything correctly the first time, you can have everything set up and ready to go within minutes. If there's typos, there's anything mismatching, it could be a little bit delayed. So just keep that in mind. All right, so as you can see here for the business entity, we have 3 steps. We've got the business details and then the ownership details. So even though you have identified yourself as a business, Stripe still needs to know who is the individual that owns this entity. If you get kind of stuck in this scenario where you have an entity that's owned by another entity, you will still need to include the individual at the end of that line. So Stripe still needs to know who the individual is. And again, this is for Stripe's purposes only. It's not going to the tenants at all or visible to anybody who is either accepting payments from you or sending you payments. And this will follow the same rules that we followed when we did the individual entity. So there does have to be, everything has to follow the legal name matching the social. Anyone who owns 25% or more of a company does need to add their information here. So the system will give you the option to add multiple owners for that legal entity. And again, PO boxes are not allowed. So please use a physical address. If you don't have a physical address because you're using a PO box, you can always use one of the addresses for your properties. As long as it's an address that is tied to the entity, you should be just fine. So here I have the opportunity to include any other owners. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and it's the same fields that were there before. So here's all the fun stuff, entering all this information. I would also recommend to gather all your details before you get started. So now you know what's required: social, addresses, date of birth. If you have multiple owners, then you'll want to get all of that as well. Now we're at the last step, which is adding a bank account. So once you add a bank account, it'll take you to, once we're done with this, we'll see all of the other tabs that are available to us once we get this part set up. So once we get all of like your entity information, your bank information added, the system then allows you to do so many different things with those bank accounts, assign them to properties, and there's a lot of customization involved at that step. So we'll get there here in a second. So the system does make you go through the instant verification first, but you could also do manual verification. So we'll show you what that looks like. Instant verification is basically going to be you entering your bank account credentials, like for your online banking login credentials. So if you do it that way, let's see. This is just a nickname, by the way. So the account name is going to be the nickname that you want for that. And then the account holder name, let's talk about that really quick. So for the account holder name, you do need to make sure, this is basically what's the name that shows up on your bank statement. That's what you need to enter here. And that does need to match the name for the legal entity. So my legal entity is called Austin's Best Rentals. So this needs to match that. Stripe does perform random audits. So if they do catch a mismatch, you may need to correct it later, or update the bank account on file. So the bank account that you have added needs to match the legal entity. I can't sign myself up as a business, Austin's Best Rentals, but then add my personal bank account, which is under Kate Johnson. If you use a DBA, it's okay for your bank statement to have the DBA on there, as long as it matches the DBA you have in TenantCloud. So going back to manual verification versus instant verification. So instant verification is you using your online banking credentials to add your bank. It's a lot quicker, a lot safer, and you basically can start receiving and sending payments right away because there is an instant verification taking place. So I'm going to go ahead and select my bank. And if I click agree and continue, it's going to take me to Chase. So it's going to take me to Chase's actual website. So there is this misconception that you're giving TenantCloud all of your information, but that is not the case. Stripe has partnered with all of these bank accounts to provide this information and collect it securely. So the system is taking you to this third-party site where you can enter your information securely, and then once you complete that, it'll take you back. I'm not going to enter login credentials, but once you enter your email address and password, the system should allow you to see your actual banking details so you can choose the bank that you want to use, especially if you have multiple banks with that financial institution. If you have a checking and a savings and maybe you want to add both, or if you are trying to add multiple checking accounts, you can do that. And on that note, I did want to discuss savings accounts. So if you use savings account for your payments, you may not be able to add it in the system. The reason why I say may not be able to add it is because there's some criteria required in order for you to save your bank on file. And if you have a bank account that has withdrawal limits, it will likely not get saved. The system will reject it. So you do need to add a bank account that accepts debits and credits. So the reason for that is because our system does allow you to send payments to owners, deposit refunds, to pay service professionals. So it is super, super important that you pay attention to that. If you have a bank that has withdrawal limits, it may not go through. Okay, so let's try again. So this time I'm going to do manual verification. Now, if you have a big bank like Chase, you could select them and then go back to manual verification. So let me go ahead and close that out again. Let's try it with one we haven't clicked on. So if you have a big bank like this, you will be prompted to go through the instant verification method instead. But if you click cancel, if you back out, you can click this down here below the purple button where it says manually verify instead, and that will allow you to enter your routing and account number. So let's back up so you guys can see what that looks like. So I'm going to click next. And then Stripe is going to show me the list of banks. You can also search for more banks if you have a less common one. There are several hundred bank accounts available, by the way. So let's go ahead and do this. And now when this pop-up appears, this is where you decide, am I going to add this instantly or manually? If you want instantly, click the purple button. If you want manually, click down here where it says manually verify instead. Okay, so now I'm going to enter my routing number. Okay, so the routing number does get verified instantly because the system can do that, but the account number cannot get verified instantly. So if I put a wrong routing number, it will tell me it's invalid immediately. So it's impossible to choose a wrong routing number. So account number is basically what we're testing here. The system wants to know, is this a legit bank? Is it your bank? And so what it will do is it'll send you some micro deposits with a code or a varying amount, and then you'll come back into the system and answer. It's kind of like a little quiz. It's going to ask you a question and then you have to answer it, and it may be with a code. So you're just going to your bank statement to retrieve the code, and you come here to enter it. So we'll see what that looks like here in a second. Okay. And so Link is a third-party system that basically saves your data and encrypts it all in one place. So you could actually use Link on multiple platforms. If there are other websites or businesses out there that use Link, it could save your bank information in that one place and use it across multiple. If you use like Shopify or maybe another online shopping store or website, or maybe even Amazon, these different sites will sometimes partner up with Link to make it easier for their customers to proceed with the checkout process. So if you want to use that, you can, and just make sure that you use the same email address and phone number so that you know what you're using in the future. But you could also just finish without saving. I personally am just going to click finish without saving. And then as you can see there, the system said that you can expect micro deposits within 1 to 2 business days. And what I would recommend in this process, when you're entering your routing and account number, just follow the prompts. It's very easy to just click the X on that pop-up. Just take your time, read what the system is telling you to do. We do have available some faster verification methods available that would basically allow you to get the micro deposit a little bit faster, typically within minutes, and you can get it verified even quicker. So that is a newer feature. It is available for some bank accounts, and It is kind of in testing right now, so not every user will get that experience. But what we just saw here, this is like the tried and true method, what we call micro deposit verification, where the system asks you for your routing and account number and then sends you a penny deposit with a code. Once you get that penny deposit, it may look like this. It'll have an S as in Sam, M as in Mary, with four characters afterward. It is alphanumeric, so if you get some letters in there, make sure that you enter them in all caps.